You know what really grinds my gears? Watching WWE take one of the most naturally gifted performers they've had in years and systematically dismantle everything that made him special. LA Knight should be world champion right now. Instead, he's stuck in this creative purgatory where the company seems determined to prove that crowd reactions mean absolutely nothing if management doesn't personally like you. Let me walk you through exactly how WWE has bungled this entire situation from start to finish. Let's start with the basics. Shawn Ricker, the man behind LA Knight, has been grinding in this business since 2003. He's worked everywhere from the independent circuit to TNA, where he actually held their world championship as Eli Drake. This wasn't some green rookie when WWE brought him back in 2021. He was a fully formed, seasoned professional who knew exactly who he was as a performer. He had the look, the talk, the swagger, everything WWE claims they want in a superstar. But here's where the incompetence starts showing itself. When Knight returned to WWE in February 2021 after being released years earlier, he debuted in NXT at TakeOver Vengeance Day. He won the $1 Million Championship from Cameron Grimes in a ladder match at TakeOver in Your House in June 2021, holding it for 70 days. The NXT crowds loved him immediately. His promos were electric, his charisma was undeniable, and he had that rare quality where even as a heel, fans couldn't help but cheer for him. Shawn Michaels, who was running NXT at the time, recognized what he had. Michaels told ESPN that Knight was a natural on the microphone and that he kept telling people this guy was special, urging them to look past the fact that he was 38 years old. But then came the call to the main roster in May 2022, and this is where the nightmare truly begins. Instead of capitalizing on the momentum Knight had built in NXT, instead of letting this man who crowds were already invested in continue being himself, WWE decided to completely reinvent him. They renamed him Max Dupree and made him the manager of a male modeling stable called Maximum Male Models. Let me repeat that. They took a guy whose entire appeal was his ability to talk trash and captivate audiences, and they turned him into a manager for a comedy act about male models. Knight himself has been brutally honest about how terrible this was. He admitted in interviews that he was told not to talk anything like he did as LA Knight. They stripped away everything that got him to the dance in the first place. He said Vince McMahon had this weird vision for the character that he never quite understood. Knight knew it was stupid, calling it whatever this stupid model thing is in interviews, but he committed to it anyway because he got a pay raise and wanted to make it work. The entire time he was worried he was about to get fired. He even admitted he thought he was done when they took him off television. During that period, the Max Dupree experiment lasted from May to September 2022, a complete waste of 5 months. WWE apparently made this decision because they were concerned about Knight's age. At 39 when he debuted on the main roster, management thought he was too old, so instead of pushing him immediately, they gave him this DOA gimmick that everyone could see was going nowhere. The fact that WWE was worried about his age while simultaneously wasting months of his limited time left in the ring is the kind of backwards logic that makes you want to scream. Thank God Triple H took over creative control in July 2022 when Vince McMahon stepped down, because by September, Knight was finally allowed to revert back to his LA Knight character. He left Maximum Male Models and immediately started to reconnect with audiences. But the damage was done. All that momentum from NXT was gone. He had to start rebuilding from scratch with a main roster audience that had only seen him as this silly manager character. Then came the Bray Wyatt program in late 2022 and early 2023. Wyatt had just returned to WWE after being released, and the company wanted to re-establish him as a monster character. Knight was brought in to basically be the guy who made Wyatt look scary. Their feud culminated in a Mountain Dew pitch black match at Royal Rumble 2023, which Knight lost. That match has been called one of the worst matches of 2023 by multiple wrestling publications. The glow in the dark elements made it nearly impossible to watch, and the supernatural stuff went so overboard that it became ridiculous rather than frightening. Even though Knight was positioned as the enhancement talent in this feud, his ability to hold his own verbally against Wyatt started turning the fans toward him. Despite being the heel and despite losing, crowds started cheering for Knight anyway. He first noticed how much his popularity was exploding when he walked out on SmackDown on March 3rd, 2023 to confront Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, and the crowd went absolutely insane when his music hit. Knight himself has said he can't even explain why he got so over during this period. After the Wyatt match, WWE had no plans for him. Zero. He was just kind of there, floating around SmackDown with no direction, and somehow in that void he became one of the most popular acts in the entire company. The crowds were doing the work for WWE. They were chanting for Knight everywhere he went. The "Yeah" chants became a staple of every show. Fans were buying his merchandise like crazy. WWE couldn't ignore it anymore, so they finally started giving him opportunities. He qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match in July 2023 by beating Montez Ford, though he didn't win the match. He won the Slim Jim Battle Royal at SummerSlam 2023 by eliminating Sheamus last, which was his first real moment of triumph. He feuded with The Miz with John Cena as special guest referee at Payback 2023, which Knight won. Cena gave him his endorsement afterward, basically telling the world that Knight was the real deal. Then came the Roman Reigns program. After Knight interrupted Reigns' entrance in one of the most electric moments of 2023, he was thrust into the main event scene. Finally. After years of struggling and months of rebuilding, Knight was going to get his shot at the undisputed WWE Universal Championship at Crown Jewel 2023 in Saudi Arabia. This should have been his crowning achievement. Instead, it was another example of WWE using Knight to make someone else look good. Everyone knew going into that match that Knight had no chance of winning. Roman was going to retain because the bloodline interfered, which is exactly what happened. The problem wasn't just that Knight lost, it's that the match never felt like Knight had a legitimate chance, which took away all the tension and made the whole thing feel like a waste of time. Knight kept getting opportunities throughout 2024, but they all followed the same pattern. He was in the Royal Rumble 2024 Fatal 4-Way for the championship against Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles, which ended in a no contest after bloodline interference. He was the second man in and second man out of the Elimination Chamber in February 2024. He defeated AJ Styles at WrestleMania 40 in April 2024, finally getting a win at the biggest show of the year, but then lost the rematch to Styles that would have earned him a shot at Cody Rhodes' championship at Backlash. He was in Money in the Bank 2024 but didn't win. Every single time Knight got close to something meaningful, WWE pulled the rug out from under him. The pattern became impossible to ignore. Knight would get a big opportunity, lose the big match, then move on to something else without any real consequences or follow through. When his King of the Ring tournament match against Santos Escobar got moved from television to a house show in May 2024, fans started openly questioning WWE's commitment to Knight. Knight tried to defend it on social media, saying live events are fun and important, but you could tell even he was frustrated. Why would you take one of your most popular stars and hide his tournament match from television viewers? Then finally, at SummerSlam 2024, Knight defeated Logan Paul to win the United States Championship. It was his first title on the main roster after years of trying. The crowd went absolutely ballistic. This was supposed to be the beginning of Knight's coronation as a main event player. The US title has historically been a stepping stone to the World Championship. John Cena used it that way, so this should have been the start of something special. Instead, WWE completely fumbled his entire reign. Knight held the championship for 119 days from August to November 2024. During that time, WWE did almost nothing with him. Most of his defenses were open challenges against guys who had no chance of winning, like Santos Escobar and Berto. He was a third wheel in the Andrade and Carmelo Hayes story. The company barely let him cut promos, which is literally Knight's greatest strength. He's a once-in-a-generation talker, and WWE just refused to give him the microphone. They treated the United States Championship like an afterthought, while Knight was holding it. Then Shinsuke Nakamura returned in November 2024 after being gone since April. Nakamura showed up in new gear with a new look, attacked Knight, and immediately got a title shot at Survivor Series War Games on November 30th, 2024. This feud got about 3 weeks of build, that's it. 3 weeks for a championship program. And then at Survivor Series, Nakamura beat Knight clean to win the title. Commentary kept mentioning how Knight looked off his game, how he couldn't get anything going. He lost his championship after only 119 days to a guy who had just come back and hadn't been positioned as a serious threat in years. And now here we are in late 2025 with Knight floundering on Raw, losing to mid-card guys, and seemingly no closer to a world championship opportunity than he was 2 years ago. The clock is ticking. Father Time is undefeated. Knight can't wait around forever for WWE to decide they're ready to push him. Either they commit to making him a star, or they need to get out of his way and let him go somewhere that will. This limbo he's stuck in serves nobody and wastes one of the most talented performers in wrestling today. WWE has destroyed LA Knight's momentum, not through one massive mistake, but through 1,000 small cuts, each one reducing his credibility and cooling his crowd reactions bit by bit. That's somehow even worse than if they just buried him outright. At least then it would be over quickly. Instead, we're watching a slow-motion car crash where everyone can see what's happening, but nobody can stop it. This is how WWE destroys stars, and LA Knight is their latest victim.